For decades, enterprise security relied on a simple concept: build a massive wall, dig a deep moat, and hide everything inside. Traditional Active Directory setups, which are on-premises databases used to manage local network resources, relied on machine accounts. To authenticate to company services, your computer had to be physically connected to the corporate network. But as employees took their laptops home and organizational data migrated to external cloud services, that localized defense stopped making sense. The physical network boundaries dissolved. This topology map shows the vulnerability of traditional passwords. When typed remotely, a password transmits across open networks to a server, risking interception by unauthorized nodes. If an attacker targets the destination directly, centralized storage becomes a liability. One server breach exposes thousands of passwords. Defending a specific building or a static piece of hardware no longer works. Modern endpoint management requires us to protect the individual human identity, regardless of what device they use or where they connect from. Microsoft Intune and Entra ID function as a centralized, cloud-based vault for modern identity management. Intune is a cloud-based endpoint management service, and Entra ID is Microsoft's cloud-based directory for identity and access management. Instead of managing accounts on local servers, IT administrators synchronize their existing local directories or import users via a CSV file, a simple text file used to store tabular data, straight into a unified cloud tenant. A tenant represents your specific organization within the Microsoft Cloud environment. This illustrates user affinity. When a user first signs into a device, their digital identity permanently locks into that hardware. Organizational apps, security policies, and access rights instantly populate. Permissions follow the verified human, not the machine. Devices that skip this bonding process act as userless endpoints. Organizations use this setup for shared kiosks or dedicated task screens, where the intended purpose of the hardware dictates a completely different enrollment process. By tying a specific identity to a specific machine, a generic piece of hardware becomes a customized, highly trackable access point for your network. In the past, administrators used group policy objects, a legacy management tool that applied settings through a rigid hierarchy of local, site, and domain levels. The Intune settings catalog replaces this with a flat structure containing thousands of cloud-based controls. Administrators select the security rules and device features they want and apply them directly to targeted user groups through a single web-based admin center. To keep this management system secure, Intune uses role-based access control, or RBAC. RBAC is a security method that restricts system access strictly to the permissions an administrator needs to complete their assigned tasks. If an attacker compromises an application manager's account, they cannot alter core endpoint security policies. Distributing permissions across specific roles prevents a single breached account from dismantling an organization's entire security apparatus. Even with strict access policies, passwords remain vulnerable to theft. Intune solves this by eliminating them entirely using Windows Hello for Business. This is a feature that replaces passwords with strong, locally stored authentication on devices. This demonstrates localized authentication. A user verifies via biometric fingerprint or PIN, unlocking a local token on the hardware. A rigid barrier ensures biometric data never leaves the device. With no password transmitted, remote network theft becomes mathematically impossible. For background connections like corporate Wi-Fi and VPNs, devices use certificate-based authentication. This executes invisible, cryptographic handshakes to verify the machine's identity, granting access without requiring any manual input from the user. To establish the initial root of trust before these local methods take over, administrators mandate multi-factor authentication during the very first device enrollment. Multi-factor authentication, or MFA, requires a user to provide at least 2 different forms of verification before granting access. Stripping the password out of the daily login process cuts off the primary avenue attackers use to breach remote networks. All of these features feed into the Zero Trust framework. Zero Trust is a security philosophy that refuses to assume any endpoint, application, or user is inherently safe by default, regardless of their location. This blueprint infographic visualizes how the architecture comes together. Centralized identity storage, user affinity bonding, strict role-based access rules, and localized biometric gates stack to form distinct layers of armor around every single user. By verifying every single interaction, the system actively blocks malicious external actors trying to get in, while simultaneously preventing accidental data leaks from authorized employees inside the network. The cloud did not destroy the concept of the corporate network perimeter. It simply inverted the model and shrunk the perimeter down to the smallest possible size. In a cloud-native organization, the impenetrable fortress no longer surrounds the physical office building. It surrounds the verified identity of the user themselves.